Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another commemorative coin series. Today, we're going to be talking about a fun one, and this is an American icon, nay, a legend in American history, Mr. Daniel Boone. And of course, he is on the Missouri commemorative coin, minted in 1921. We're going to talk a little bit about Daniel Boone's rich history. We're going to talk a little bit about the coin. We're going to talk a lot about some of the misnomers about Daniel Boone, and then we're going to wrap it up with what's happening next week. So stay tuned. It's going to be a great episode. You're absolutely going to enjoy this. All right. So let's talk about Daniel Boone's early years. Well, he was born in Pennsylvania, and a lot of people think that his birthday was October 22nd. Well, unfortunately, that's probably not true. And the reason is because of an old, outdated calendar-based system that was utilized during the time. His birthday actually is November 2nd. And so if you see some history books or you see information where it's October 22nd, it's actually not right. It is November 2nd. So for all of you November babies, you have something in common with Mr. Daniel Boone. Now, one thing that Daniel Boone, this is something I didn't know about until I was researching this coin and looking over the history of this man, was I never knew that he actually served with one of America's greatest heroes, Mr. George Washington. See, I didn't understand that he had actually got to work under the president for quite some time as he served as a wagoneer in the Army. Now, he got to work in very close association with that. And because of that and his eventual rank of lieutenant colonel, he got to spend some time as a legislative delegate. And once that term was over, he obviously wanted to head back to his home state of, at that time, Kentucky, and then eventually end up in Missouri, where he would gain his honorary title of colonel. Now, in 1787, something happened, and he was actually captured while going through what was known still the Louisiana Territory and the Shawnee. Now, we know the Shawnee. We know a great story about the Shawnee, but he was actually captured by them. Chief Blackfish, who actually captured him, was actually taken with Daniel Boone. He was quite impressed with his ability to understand the wilderness and hunt and fish. And so he actually adopted him into his tribe. And he named him something that I never understood until now. And that was Shatali. And Shatali means big turtle. Now, I often thought he was called Big Turtle because he was out in the woods and he was hiding and he always liked to be gone. And he kind of hid. He never came out of his shell. But it actually wasn't that at all. He was actually called Big Turtle because he was a broad-shouldered man and he had a little neck. And so he looked like he was kind of all stuck in his thing, turtle. So anyway, Shatali. So that was his name, Big Turtle. I find that really fascinating. Unfortunately, he had to escape and he went back to his family, and he wasn't met with some really great circumstances because he had some financial issues during that time frame. There were some screw-ups with his title, and he ended up losing his lands and financial struggles. And so he went through a very, very difficult time. But like a person of the wilderness and a person who makes themselves, he found his new footing again as he went to Missouri. Now, during that time frame, the Missouri was still run by the Spanish. It hadn't been purchased in the Louisiana Purchase quite yet. He was able to gain lands from the Spanish by teaching them and navigating them through areas. So he was able to get lands and get some property back to once again explore and utilize his rich understanding of the natural resources in that part of the world, which is quite fabulous because it shows his resilience. Daniel Boone's legacy was indeed great. And there were a lot of really cool things about Daniel Boone, but not only was he immortalized as an American icon, in 1921, the Missouri Commemorative Commission that wanted to do the centennial of Missouri becoming a state decided to honor Daniel Boone by putting him both on the obverse and the reverse of the coin. Now, it's just him in his coonskin cap on the obverse, and if you flip it over, you'll see him with some stuff in the background. You see him pointing over across a native, surveying the land. It's a really beautiful coin, and you'll see this right over here. It's very nicely done. In fact, it's one of the better of the two Daniel Boone coins. But there's something in here that I talked about at the very beginning that I want to enlighten you on. You know, the coonskin cap? Wrong. Daniel Boone actually didn't wear a coonskin cap. He actually liked a hat that was more reminiscent of the Quaker style. And if you think about it, trudging through the wilderness, he needed to protect his eyes, he needed to protect himself from the element, and the coonskin cap probably just wouldn't cut it. Now, not to say he didn't have that other one covered with an animal skin of some sort to keep him warm, but the coonskin cap, nah, maybe a little bit of legendary bolstering to create some additional stories. You can see a lot about him in some of the resources that are in the description down below. So make sure you're checking those out. And again, I hope you enjoyed this fun little story about Daniel Boone. Make sure you're here next week when we talk about another iconic commemorative coin. This is Frostbyte. We'll see you next week.